Hey everybody, how are you? And starting just a little bit later than intended, but again, just a lot of personal chores to be done. And today is Wednesday. Well, today is going in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is Christmas Eve, and then Monday is Christmas. So, programming note: Sunday being Christmas Eve, there will not be a Zenny 62 on Christmas Eve. And however, I will have a Friday show, a night show, and tomorrow really will be the show where I sort of start to talk about Christmas and everything else, and try to get a special guest on. But usually the special guest is you. So I want to thank everyone in advance for a fantastic, up to this point, first year. We're not done in terms of doing live streams for the year, of course, but getting to that point where you start getting sentimental and just a little teary-eyed about things and all that sort of stuff, right? So that's we'll get teary-eyed a little bit and reminisce a bit. We'll get teary-eyed a little bit and reminisce a bit. We'll get teary-eyed a little bit. We'll talk about our great, and I'll say hello to all. Hello, our great times that we've had. But now, today, as I tweet, thank you for tweeting. Hey Barry, if you could tweet out one more time, hashtag Pro Bowl, that would be great. And I'm gonna share this on Twitter as well. Give it if you're here, please give us a thumbs up. And I'm gonna put this on Instagram. Ooh. And I'm gonna put this on LinkedIn. Ooh. Share it. Now the first thumbnail isn't intentional. You the man, Rick Rice. It's replaced by another thumbnail that will come up later as it propagates through the network, right? But okay, now putting this on Facebook, I'm typing live stream like so, and post to Facebook. So that's out. And here we go on Twitter. Pro Bowl now. And they'll say hashtag Pro Bowl. Hashtag Pro Bowl. Hashtag NFL. Hashtag Raiders. And then there that goes. All right, so that's out. All right. Now, thank you for sending the tweet. New tweet. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. And John Santos. Haven't seen you in a while. John Santos says, hey, Zenny and crew, good job with live stream. It has helped many of us deal with a terrible Vegas deal. Thank you so much. I'm going to start off this stream by pointing out something that I think is going to be quite obvious when I mention it. Happy Kwanzaa, Rick Rice. And that is this. The person whose name I'm about to mention has been maligned for much of the season. He is picked out and picked on by Sal, good man Sal, on Instagram. He was challenged to come out. He then turned around and said, I will meet you in the parking lot, and then did so unwisely. Got out of his $200,000 Bentley in search of said Sal. Didn't lay a hand on him, and Sal didn't lay a hand on him. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed. This man was that close to being a victim of the emergence of a young, talented offensive tackle from the SEC. Excuse me. Can you effectively say Cam Robinson from Alabama? But guess what? Cam Robinson wasn't drafted by the Raiders. And so the man I'm about to mention decided to for more money. We all questioned, was this a good idea? Let him go. bring up sparks, right? We said it. We just, jumped all over the man. Hey, Joshua Stevens, welcome. But as of today, you have to say one thing. Donald Penn prevailed. You have to just say it for what it is. Donald Penn got the last laugh. Why? Because he's one of 3 Oakland Raiders named to the 2018 Pro Bowl squad. Congratulations, Donald Penn, and to which I say, I don't know what they say on the sidelines when they're actually doing that with each other. Like, so I'll just say I'll make up my own sound effect. Hey, Joe Jonas, how you doing? Right? Congratulations, Mr. Penn. Well deserved. Not just because your peers selected you to the Pro Bowl, but because of the crap that you had to endure this year. Hey, Wiggle Babies, how you doing? All right? Rick Rice says, Penn had a horrible year. How do you make the Pro Bowl? Well, he didn't have that horrible a year because Donald Penn's lows that were visible to us were more than matched by the number of times he played and was effective. Okay. Donald Penn is an effective offensive tackle. There's just no question about it. He got more votes than anybody else. Or as John Marks would say, first down. Okay. Wiggle Baby says, I was at the Sunday Night Football game. My God, that paper measurement. First down. Okay. So, Barry Lee says, when you make as much money as Penn does, you made it. Let it go. Bay Area 408, how are you? Welcome. Citron says, congrats, Penn. Too bad you won't be there, Rick, because he's injured. Okay. Yeah, the injury does bring him out. The question is who's going to be his alternate. Maybe Cam Robinson. Wouldn't that be something if Cam Robinson was his alternate? I have to check the votes to see if that's a possibility. But the bottom line is, we got Aaron Blaylock says, good for Penn. I hated how he was treated by some fans. He had the respect of his peers. Joseph Jones says, that index card first down was BS. It was. But let's talk about Donald Penn. Because Aaron Blaylock is 1,000% correct. I mean, Aaron Blaylock writes, and I said this before, I'm going to repeat it because it's worth repeating. Good for Penn, writes Aaron Blaylock. I hated how he was treated by some fans. He has the respect of his peers, okay? So, I have to say he's absolutely right because, look, I got nothing but love for Sal. Haven't met him yet, but let's face it, Sal, you're a little harsh on him, okay, on Instagram, and you said some things that I think had we wanted to replay that down, if you will, you wouldn't have done. And I'm absolutely certain that Donald Penn would not have written on your Instagram page that he was going to meet you in the parking lot after the game. Okay? And you were there, and we know what didn't happen, fortunately, for the both of you. Because, look, at the end of the day, the fight aside, both of you would have went to jail. And that's not good for either one of you. All right? So, thankfully, it didn't go in that direction. But my point is, it didn't need to happen. And also, this all started because you, Sal, got on Donald Penn for what you observed or what you judged to be his poor play. But the man has made the Pro Bowl roster. So once again, Donald Penn gets the last laugh on all of us. Okay? He just does, all right? And Rick Rice says he had a horrible year. And, you know, I am inclined to side with Rick Rice versus what Donald Penn did the year before. But maybe that's it. Maybe you have a body of players that you generally go up against, and they take it's a popularity contest. So it's not just on the field, I'm theorizing, it's also off the field, everything else, okay? And other things. So Donald Penn obviously has good relationships, and maintains them, and that's, I would most not doubt, poured into this outcome. Now, poured into it. Rick Rice says he's laughing in his hospital bed. Yeah, he is. And I'll bet you he's just cursing Sal. He's like, yeah, take that, Mom. Yeah. How you like me now, Sal? How you like me now? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you know Donald Penn is going to be having a field day. I mean, about the only thing Sal can get off on is what has got to be the fact that Donald Penn is screaming this guy's name in the hospital bed. I'm serious. Yeah, Sal. Yeah, how you like that, Sal? But yeah, given, as Dorian pointed out, Raiders have, as a whole, have had a bad year, because if you took, and I think everyone will agree with what I'm about to say, folks, if you took all the comments that were made about the Raiders going into the season, you would have expected the Raiders to have 8 players on the Pro Bowl roster. You would have expected to see Marshawn Lynch on this roster. You would have expected to see Amari Cooper on the roster. You could make an argument for Jared Cook, right? Tight end, rather than Kelce. Except the drops. Okay? All right? So you could make a case for 3 other Raiders, 6 in all. If 7 if you count Derek Carr, if the season went as we expected it to go. It did not go that way. It did not. And Rick Rice says Sal's crying in his pillow. He's got to be. Sal should have had Sal on. Hey, Sal. I mean, it would have been like rubbing sand. It would have been like, kicking sand in his face, in a sense, which I don't want to do to Sal. But Sal, if you see this, you got to admit it's funny. Okay? It's called poetic justice, right? Poetic justice. Poetic justice. I never in my life actually looked up. We've got Google Home downstairs. If I had it up here, I would say, hey, Google, what's poetic justice? But instead, I have to type it old-fashioned here. Poetic justice. Poetic justice. Poetic justice is a film with Tupac Shakur and Regina King and Janet Jackson. Ooh. It's also a definition. Poetic justice is an outcome. This is the definition of poetic justice, all right? And this applies to Donald Penn. Poetic justice is an outcome which vice is punished and virtue rewarded, usually in a manner particularly or ironically appropriate, all right? The first known use of poetic justice is in 1691, okay? And now here's examples. After the way he treated his staff, it was poetic justice that he lost his job. Recent examples of poetic justice from the web. The incident was unplanned, a false alarm, but had a twinge of poetic justice, and that was Andrew Dixon in New York Times, Passport Photos and Online Porn, The Dizzying World of Thomas Ruff. Hey, they picked that out. And then we have, by the way, the Senate just approved the GOP tax bill. Okay? Now there's a certain amount of poetic justice in the fact that leading Bitcoin companies trying to upgrade the Bitcoin network were foiled by a populist backlash. I remember that one. Okay. So you get the idea, all right? That's it. So the first use of poetic justice was in 1691, but we've got its use here. Now, before I continue, we've got to talk about all the people on the list. I mean, the Pro Bowl list. It's not only in your description below. It's on this sheet of paper, okay? I'm going to tweet this out one more time for Raider Nation. Raider Nation. I'm going to type post. And there it goes there. And then here we go with Twitter. NFL Pro Bowl. Wait a minute. Raiders. And then we'll get to finishing discussion. Raiders. Raider Nation. Hashtag Oakland. And why not? Let's not forget the people in Vegas for a change. Because usually in the Twitter tags I tend to, right? But we're going to be one love tonight with a bias toward Oakland. Understandably, because we're talking about the Oakland Raiders. The real Raiders. Anyway, all right. This is the list. This is the list. And Big April asks, are we going to talk about coaches on the hot seat tonight? We can. And we can. And so, and then we have, I'll read these comments before I get to the rest. We have, hold on a second. We've got, as John Mark says, F Las Vegas. Dorian says, I would have expected that the Raiders would have a season like the Rams and the Rams like the Raiders. Yep. Mile High Raider says, I do think he's one of the best left tackles in the league. John Mark says, Sal should have just let it go. We talked about that before. All right. Here is the list. The AFC Pro Bowl roster consists of an offense, wide receiver, Antonio Brown from the Pittsburgh Steelers, DeAndre Hopkins from the Houston Texans, A.J. Green from the Cincinnati Bengals, and Keenan Allen, go Bears, from the Chargers. For that's tackle, we've got Alejandro Villanueva from the Steelers, Taylor Lewan, from the Titans. Congratulations, Taylor. I got to tell you my Taylor Lewan story. And Donald Penn from the Raiders. Taylor Lewan, a little poetic justice there because, well, in a different way. When Taylor was drafted, the knock on him was that he had bad temper. When he came out of Michigan. And what happened was that after the Ohio State-Michigan game the previous year, Taylor was drafted 2 years ago by the Titans. After the game, he had gotten into a shouting match which turned a little physical, but Taylor's a big guy, against a couple of Ohio State students, right? Taylor wound up being charged for assault. And so immediately, when you're covering the draft, there's always a stereotype about somebody, okay? There's always something on a guy. Everybody has something. For Taylor, it was a temper that behind the scenes was described as like Richie Incognito. That was the talk. Oh, this guy's the next Richie Incognito. Now, who's Richie Incognito? Richie Incognito is a very good but journeyman offensive lineman, known for, among other things, a playful air and a pranksterish personality and a horrible temper that got him into a great deal of trouble in the league not just a few years ago. He had to face some fines and suspension time during that period, and it marked him for a time. And now he's back. He's Richie Incognito. He was considered a bad boy who wasn't. He wasn't good for the league, and allegedly injured certain players, and he's now with the Buffalo Bills. And you know, he for a while looked like he was going to be bounced out of football, okay? But Richie Dominique Incognito, all right? So, in fact, if you look at Richie Incognito's profile, you'll find what I'm talking about. And it's when he was with the Rams, St. Louis Rams. He had a deal with the Rams, left them about $1 million. Started 9 games, but then he drew 2 15-yard penalties on one drive for headbutting. And head coach Steve Spagnuolo benched him for the second half. And then he got in a confrontation with his head coach on the sidelines. Okay, that's what Richie Incognito did. And he'd been pulled from the season opener against Seattle for 2 personal fouls, and then the headbutting with the Titans was the last straw, so they benched him. Yeah, just say, you know what, you need to sit down, and they put him on waivers after that. All right, and then Billy Devaney, the Rams general manager, said that Spagnuolo had given Incognito numerous chances to clean up his act and had put him on notice that the Rams would cut ties with him if he couldn't get his act together, okay? Couldn't control his anger. And so he had earned a $50,000 fine from the league and a warning, okay? Anyway, it goes on and on and on. In fact, this is a number of great accounts. Well, the talk was that Taylor Lewan had that kind of temper. So, hey, at the draft, me being me, I decided to ask him, Taylor Lewan, how it felt to be compared to Richie Incognito. And he didn't like that. He goes, ha, ha, ha. And he says, I'll bet you have a nice tie. And I said, yeah, people think that I have a great bald head, too. They think it's sexy. Words to that effect. It's on camera, folks. I said it. And you could feel the tension in the room. But the reason why, and I'll tell you straight out, the reason why I brought that out, the reason why I talked about it, if Richie Incognito, if Taylor happens to see this, is for a reason I get a chance to explain to Taylor. And it's not about him. Every time, I'll say this when I come back to the Pro Bowl discussion, but I got to explain this, all right? Every time a black athlete coming out of college into the NFL draft who had done something wrong, some action that led to an encounter with law enforcement, the press asked that player about it. Beyond just asking about it, it became this huge issue, okay? Huge, all right? Gigantic issue, all right? And as Eric Martin points out regarding Richie Incognito, he did bully Jonathan Martin, who was from Stanford, and that was also written. Thank you for reminding me of that, because there's so much about Incognito that wasn't written about in the account that I found. I forgot about that, and the irony is I met Jonathan Martin at the Stanford tailgate before the big game that year. I didn't ask him about it, but yeah, he bullied Jonathan Martin out of the league for all practical purposes, is what Richie Incognito did. All right, but getting back to Taylor Lewan, Taylor, and this is on video, did not like my question. And the reason I did it was because I got tired of the mostly white media, by far, asking black players who had gotten into trouble with law enforcement about their transgressions, but not white players. So I decided myself, I took it upon myself to break the imaginary wall. That's exactly what I did. I asked. And when I did, you could, and I asked specifically, I didn't ask about the Ohio State incident, but no one else did. I went deeper. I talked about his temper, and I compared him I said, hey, look, how does it feel to be compared to Richie Incognito? Ooh, he didn't like that. Okay. Ooh, all right. So, hey, Taylor Lewan gets his due. After criticism about his temper, he settled in and became one of the best young offensive tackles in the league. And again, he's on the Pro Bowl roster. And I think, is this his first year? Let me see if this is Taylor Lewan's first year um, on in the Pro Bowl, okay? And there's an asterisk by his name, which indicates what does it indicate? Asterisk indicates starter. He's the starter. He's a Pro Bowl starter. So Taylor Lewan, he was drafted in 2014. And we type Taylor Lewan Pro Bowl. And let's see here. And this marks the third selection. Nope. Yeah. This is his second. Yeah, this is his second consecutive Pro Bowl, Taylor Lewan. His first time was last year. So congratulations to Taylor. Congratulations to Taylor Lewan. Second straight year. It's incredible. All right. Hey, good night, Barry Lee. I'll see you. All right. So Donald Penn and Taylor Lewan continue to succeed in spite of what people like me or Sal say. Now, in defense to me, I didn't say he was a bad player. I was just talking about the whole temper thing. But look, Taylor Lewan is a tough customer as a tackle. He's quick on his feet. Strong to the punch, literally, okay? A great reader of defensive ends and where they're going to go. Excellent way of controlling even some of the fastest ends like the Clownies of the world. Yeah. He has become a tough customer, Taylor Lewan. So, all right, we've got, moving along, at guard, we have Kelechi Osemele. I always mispronounce his name. Kelechi Osemele. Kelechi Osemele of the Raiders at guard. And we have Dave DeCastro of the Steelers. And then Richie Incognito of the Bills. So how about that? We've got Taylor Lewan and Richie Incognito. At some point, they're going to line up next to each other. How about that? That's crazy. But congratulations to Osemele. So you have Penn and Osemele tackle and guard. In fact, you know what? Having said that, I need to make an adjustment because in the title real quick, because I was trying to figure out how to accommodate all of these Raiders, and I included the Niner, but you know what? Sorry, I'm going to have to drop out the Niner. This is just kind of the way it goes. Yeah. It's just the way that it goes. And if I can do that, there it is. Kelechi Osemele. I'm going to have to practice that name a couple thousand times. Can anyone hear that say that? Can anyone here say that name with aplomb? Kelechi Osemele. Kelechi Osemele. That's it almost sounds like Dikembe Mutombo. It has a majestic sound to it. Dikembe Mutombo. Kelechi Osemele. Dikembe Mutombo. Dikembe Mutombo has become quite the successful businessman. But I digress. All right, now, we've got Max Meester says it's pronounced how? I'm getting lessons from the comment section. It says Mixmaster says it's pronounced Osemele. Osemele. Got it. Kelechi Osemele. Kelechi. Is it Kelechi? Kelechi Osemele. It's a beautiful name. Kelechi Osemele. Kelechi Osemele. That's cool. That's a beautiful name. That's a beautiful name. And he's in the Pro Bowl. Congratulations to him. So, the Raiders' offensive line is well represented because you have Kelechi Osemele and Donald Penn, and we have Rodney Hudson. Think about that. You have the Raiders center, the Raiders guard, and the Raiders tackle. That's really cool. That says a lot for, among other things, how well I think Cam Robinson would have done under the tutelage of Mike Tice. I think one of you said, maybe it was Rick Rice, that Cam Robinson you thought had a horrible year, and I point out that he had a great year for a rookie, and I said that he would have done better under the Raiders, under the training and the watchful eye of a Mike Tice. Okay, so, but hey, look, he's with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jaguars are going places. Ooh. The Jaguars are indeed going places. So, Dank Mex, how you doing? Dank Mex Attack says, when you hear people say draft a QB for the first round pick. Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, come on. That is, you're absolutely right about that. Now, thank you Mixmaster, for the correction. Very much. Continuing, we have at center Maurkice Pouncey of the Steelers and Rodney Hudson. So we've got the Steelers. We have an offensive line made up primarily of Steelers and Raiders. It's not bad. It says a lot. Hey, Big Eiffel, how are you? You say what happened when. I didn't experience anything. Maybe I was so busy reading that I may have missed something. So let me know what I missed. Please. Now, let me know what I missed. We've got tight end Travis Kelce of the Chiefs, Rob Gronkowski of the Patriots. You think Rob Gronkowski's going to get in a fight during the Pro Bowl? I think it's a fair possibility. Quarterback, we have Tom Brady, Patriots, Phillip Rivers, and, Tom might sit out this one. Phillip Rivers of the Chargers, and Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers. I wonder if Tom Brady becomes the oldest player ever to be named a starter. The oldest quarterback ever to be named starter for the Pro Bowl. We've got Dank Mex Attack says Bruce Irvin and Navarro Bowman should have been in the Pro Bowl. Yep. Oh, Big Eiffel says, okay, I'm back. Computer was tripping. Yeah, I did see this little black screen and then curlicue circle for a second. And so I just refreshed my page and that went away. Don't quite know what was going on there. I didn't check the live page, the live stream page. Was content to write it out. So we've got, if you're wondering what I'm drinking, this is ginger tea, folks. Ginger tea. So quarterback, Tom Brady, Phil Rivers of the Chargers, and Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers. I hate to say it, but Phil Rivers is going to wind up being that quarterback. What I mean by that? He's going to be that quarterback that gets in the NFL Hall of Fame without a ring. Dank Mex says, do you think Khalil Mack will be an all-pro defensive end again? Well, you mean next year? I don't see why not. Although next year is a wild card. Well, I do. And I'll tell you why. Because when all is said and done, the one thing that we can be certain of is that the Raiders' defense will be different next year. It has to be. You can't play the defense in terms of scheme that the Raiders have put on the field this year and expect that you're going to win next year. So you have to design a defense that enhances Mack's skills. So I think it's a given that that'll happen. Big Eiffel writes, Mack had a quiet 10.5 sacks this year. Again, double-digit sacks. He did, yeah. He did. He did. I did this because I was thinking about something. I was reading up close. You get, up close. Reading up close is what happens, okay? Sometimes I read down. Sometimes I read up close like that, okay? All right. Now, reading along, we have, regarding this Pro Bowl roster, I read the tight ends, read the quarterbacks. Le'Veon Bell from the Steelers is running back. Kareem Hunt, of the Chiefs. Rookie made it. Playing next to LeSean McCoy of the Bills. Good luck with LeSean. And fullback, we have James, unbelievable. James Develin. James Develin, at fullback for the Patriots? Not. Oh boy. I wonder where Marshawn Lynch fell in the voting. I gotta look that up. That'll be more fun than this, Defense for the AFC. Defensive end, Joey Bosa. Second year. Chargers. Calais Campbell, the Jaguars. If certain people had their way, Campbell would have been a Raider and on the roster. Right? Khalil Mack, of course, we talked about. Interior lineman, Geno Atkins of the Bengals. Jarrell Casey of the Titans. And Malik Jackson of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Outside linebacker, we have Von Miller of the Broncos, well-deserved. Jadeveon Clowney of the Texans. Terrell Suggs, a perennial of the Ravens. We have outside linebacker, and then we have inside/middle linebacker. Inside linebacker, you're for a 3-4. Middle linebacker, you're for a 4-3. 4-3 is 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, middle linebackers in the middle. Now, C.J. Mosley, the Ravens, and Ryan Shazier of the Steelers. So we have to ask who the alternate's going to be, for obvious reasons. Wow, Ryan Shazier, cornerback. A.J. Bowie of the Jags, and Jalen Ramsey of the Jaguars. So you have A.J. Green and Jalen Ramsey. Do you think in practice the A.J. Green's going to go whumping on Jalen Ramsey again? I'm just wondering. Oh, boy. Broncos. Akeem Talib. So Akeem Talib made it, but not Casey Hayward. Where's Michael Crabtree when you want him? Is Akeem Talib going to bring those gold chains he yanked off Michael Crabtree's neck? Just asking. Anyway, okay. Mile High Raider says Mack was a beast against the best O-line in the league. Dank Meck says all Raiders need to do is fire Todd, run better schemes, I formation, power run. Don't forget play action. Joseph Binsman says, Clowney and Bosa had a great year. Yep. Big April says it, but injuries for the Texans. Wow. Big April says the Raiders need another stud defensive tackle to help Matt really reach his height as a pass rusher. I thought that was what Eddie Vanderdoes was supposed to be. See, it's all technique. Their technique, they play high all the time. I don't mean, that kind of high. I mean, they get off the ball and they're standing up and they're getting their pads lifted and all this, not effective. Ugh, awful stuff. Awful stuff. Rick209 writes, that's about if the GOP tax reform goes, will the Raiders stay in Oaktown? The two are not exactly, wait a minute, they are correlated. The GOP tax bill does not have a provision to kill taxes and financing for sports. So there you go. But the Vegas deal has other problems. That among them, the stadium tax revenue rate is not great enough. The stadium tax rate is not great enough to produce the revenue necessary to retire the bond debt without digging into Clark County reserves. All right? It's general fund. Okay, now, moving along, we've got, everybody says, latest stadium news in. I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, well, I mentioned last night that the channel the news that the Army Corps of Engineers gave the go-ahead to move the channel 150 feet. It's going to cost over $1 million. But originally, that delay in terms of getting approval was going to take 12 to 18 months. It's a hurdle that's gotten out of the way. But in so doing, the Las Vegas Review-Journal people inadvertently revealed what I told folks months earlier. Hey, it lands on a floodplain. Woo boy, which means that they have to have, they being the Raiders, an extra budget to pay for a gigantic drainage system and void below the stadium to act as a catch spill for water. Are they going to do that? They better. They'd better. If they get that far, I'm telling you, this deal doesn't look good. It still don't look good. Now, moving forward. Kevin KD says, Pro Bowl is meh. Robert Iman says, it would be a shame if Bill O'Brien is canned. Why? Look, I don't say that with glee. I have nothing against Bill O'Brien. He seemed like a nice guy. I was trying to angle over to talk with him at the NFL annual meeting. I hope he comes back. I'm just asking you why, given the standards the Houston Texans are trying to set. But also, now that I think about it, let me now say, hold on a second, cool your jets. I know what you're going to say, all right? Injuries, okay? Injuries. I get it. Injuries. They would be set with a number of unfortunate injuries. And I believe you'd have a case, okay? I believe you'd have I agree with you. So, okay, I get you. Bill O'Brien should stick around. He should stick around. Now, as to whether or not he will is another story. Dank Mex says, nope, need better line technique. Kevin KD says, yeah, why are they standing up like they're doing the wave? Strange D-line technique, exactly. And it's hurt us all year long. Kevin KD also says, Rick 209, UNLV will tombstone the Raiders' attempt to leave Oakland for Las Vegas. Jordan Yancey says, defense was better under Pagano. I disagree. Kevin KD says, this season was not O'Brien's fault. He also says Texans have too many injuries. Yep, they do. And Ash Ketchumali, is that how you pronounce your last name? Writes, the defense was out-schemed by better coordinators, and they knew how to counter Mack, especially in must-have moments against prime teams. And also we had marginal players on skill positions. You know, hold on a second, I gotta pick this up because I dropped it accidentally. I have to say that given the way Jack Conklin handled Khalil Mack, the Titans' standout offensive right tackle, toward the start of the season, I believe teams figured out how to block Mack. And among other things, when they did try to go single high on him, Conklin took him up high on the shoulders. They looked at the way the Raiders were pass rushing, and they basically, got him right here. As the season progressed, Mack began to get around that how by using martial arts techniques. Get your hands off me, boy. Okay? And so it made him more formidable to deal with if you were just going to single block him. And the Giants, the New York Football Giants, certainly found that out. So, among others. But toward the start of the year, boy, that lousy technique was getting Mack in trouble. And Jack Conklin, and when Mack moved over there, Taylor Lewan ate him alive. So, they just did. All right. So, we've got, I mentioned the cornerbacks, and then we've got free safety Eric Weddle, of the Ravens. Strong safety Rashard Joseph of the Dolphins, and we have Micah Hyde of the Bills. Special teams punter is the Texans, and Brett Kirch, and then we have Chad Boswell from the Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm reading this paper, but this thing came out a little bit dense, so I'm going to just read it off the computer and go forward from there where it's easier to do. We have kicker Chad Boswell of the Steelers, return specialist Tyreek Hill of the Chiefs, no surprise there, and special teamer Matthew Slater from the New England Patriots. So the NFC Pro Bowl roster has Julio Jones from the Falcons at wide receiver, Adam Thielen from the Vikings, Michael Thomas from the Saints, and Larry Fitzgerald from the Cardinals. Tackle Tyron Smith of the Cowboys, Trent Williams, the perennial All-Pro of the Washington Redskins, Lane Johnson of the Eagles, well-deserved by Lane Johnson, guard Zach Martin of the Cowboys, Brandon Brooks of the Eagles, Brandon Scherf of the Redskins, center Alex Mack, Falcons, Travis Frederick of the Cowboys. So, hey, Cowboys, between tackle, guard, and center, are like the Raiders, okay? Cowboys and Raiders have a formidable offensive line talent. Quarterback, Carson Wentz of the Eagles. Russell Wilson of the Seahawks. Interesting, yes. Well-deserved. And, of course, Drew Brees of the Saints. No surprise there. Running back, Todd Gurley of the Rams. And Alvin Kamara of the Saints. Mark Ingram of the Saints. Kamara and Ingram have been balling out all year. Well-deserved position. Fullback, Kyle Juszczyk of the 49ers. On defense for the NFC, we have Jefferson Griffin of the Vikings, DeMarcus Lawrence of the Cowboys, Cameron Jordan of the Saints. Go Bears. He's a good Cow Bear. Interior lineman Fletcher Cox of the Eagles, Aaron Donald of the Rams. Wow. Formidable. Gerald McCoy of the Bucks, who's injured. I wonder if he's going to wind up playing. Outside linebacker Chandler Jones, the Cardinals, Ryan Kerrigan of the Redskins, Anthony Barr of the Vikings. Anthony Barr, UCLA. I not only interviewed Anthony Barr, but I was there when Subway Sandwich in Midtown Manhattan in New York unveiled the Anthony Barr head sandwich. What do I mean? Well, basically, folks, they made, and this is on video, it's on Zenny62, just type Anthony Barr, you'll see. They made a bust of his head out of Subway sandwiches. Moving along. Now, I'm not kidding. They did. Okay? Moving along. Oh, that was something else. Inside middle linebacker, we have Luke Cayley of the Panthers. Wow, what an incredible player. Bobby Wagner of the Seahawks. Cornerback, we have Xavier Rhodes of the Vikings. Patrick Peterson of the Cardinals. Marshawn Lattimore of the Saints. Darius Slay of the Lions. Free safety, we have Earl Thomas of the Seattle Seahawks, well-deserved for the perennial All-Pro. We have strong safety, Landon Collins of the Giants and Malcolm Jennings of the Eagles. Special teams, we have at punter Johnny Hecker of the Rams. Greg Zuerlein of the kicker from the Rams. Return specialist Pharaoh Cooper of the Rams. We have Rams. We have Rams for punter, kicker, and return specialist. Interesting. Special teams, we have Bubba Baker of the Cardinals. So that rounds out the Pro Bowl. There you go. What are your thoughts? And Ash said the defense was out-schemed by better coordinators. I got that comment. Rob Byman says too many injuries on our defense. And Corey Brown says a lot of Webble alumni aren't liking the back seat UNLV has been put in. Kevin KD says, talking about the Pro Bowl, especially early in the Cowboys game, the Cowboys O-line was constantly blowing them off the ball and creating huge holes for their running backs. Yeah, because they kept the rate. They were going off tackle using that slide zone blocking. You used to call it in the old days slide blocking. They call it zone right? But the Raiders were not stunning their way around that. They were content to sort of be eaten up by it, and they weren't even playing single gap to attack it. They were leaving themselves high to be blocked. Two gap. Now, thank you for the information, Corey Brown. Ash says, but Zinni, a real all-star like LT used to shred in must-have moments. And how many times have we heard him compared to Lawrence Taylor? Quite a few. When he was playing like Lawrence Taylor, okay? This year, and Xavier Magin says, what exactly is special teams? That's kickoff. Your kickoff team, your punt team, your field goal team, special teams. That's what that is. Kevin KD says, Cowboys and Raiders have league's 2 premier O-lines. Yes. And you know what? Considering how good that offensive line is for the Raiders, don't you think Marshawn Lynch should have had something in the neighborhood of a 1,000-yard season? Okay. All right. So, in fact, what is Marshawn Lynch's... See how Lynch is doing now, how well he is or is not. Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch, running back for the Oakland Raiders, NFL. One of the Cowboys quarterbacks had something to say about Marshawn Lynch. I'm going to go back and review that. But right now, he is, let's see, this year, he is 695 yards. His average run is 4.3 yards, as long as 51 yards for a touchdown. He has 136 yards receiving, okay? So as of right now, Marshawn would have to have, if he were able to have 2 150-yard-plus yards games, or 3, he could, Marshawn Lynch, if the Raiders used him I formation, 25 carries a game from this point out, Marshawn Lynch can just hit 1,000 yards. Just hit 1,000 yards. And I think the Raiders ought to position himself to do that. I really believe they should do that. Now, let me get to this comment that was made about Mr. Lynch. I want to see this. Cowboys, hold on a second, folks. This is opening up. Oh, Cowboys cornerback Chidobe Azwili on what Raiders running back Marshawn Lynch did to him after big collision. This is interesting. And Frisco, Texas. Cowboys rookie running back is crying. Just kidding. And Chidobe Azwili says he believes he held his own Sunday night at Oakland on a big collision with Raiders running back Marshawn Lynch in the second quarter. On a 2nd and 14, Lynch caught a 6-yard pass on the right side and then lowered his left shoulder to take on the incoming Woozy near the sideline. The collision caused Woozy to fly back 2 yards and land chest first, I remember this, on the ground. Meanwhile, Lynch never lost his feet as he went out of bounds. However, Lynch didn't gain any more yards after contact either. I didn't even know how it looked. It's just kind of one of those plays where you don't be thinking this is what he's saying. You just go in there and you try to give it your all, Woozy said. When I watched the film and I watched a little video on Twitter, everyone kind of was saying I got trucked. Some people were saying I won. It was a 50-50 play. I feel like he's a great running back, but just for me to get no yards after contact after that play was a great play for me. After the play, Lynch flipped the ball at Woozy as he was still on his knees and turned his head toward Woozy as he ran past him back toward the huddle. He didn't say nothing, but he got up and stuck his tongue out. Woozy said, "I think he threw the ball at me too. It's all good. I think that's funny. It's all good. I think it was a good play. That was a player I looked up to growing up. Marshawn Lynch is from the Bay Area. I'm from the Bay Area." Woozy was asked to describe the impact of the hit. "Loud. My neck is still stiff a little bit," Woozy said. "It was very loud. Very forceful, big. I bounced up pretty quick. Had to. Can't be looking like no sucker." Just sends you a window, right? Woozy says he prides himself on being a complete cornerback. All right. So anyway, that's an interesting comment about Marshawn Lynch and how he plays the game, and also it's why I think really, as I think about it, Lynch is 31, but he needs to stay with the Raiders. He gives the Raiders that battering ram personality that can define the offense. But he hasn't been used in a way that matches the personality. The offensive way, the style hasn't matched the tone that was set by Marshawn Lynch. That's a big mistake. It really is. So but onward through the fog, as we say. And I've got, Rob Ivan says Thielen should have just been put in there before Julio Jones. Jones was a name place, sort of like when they used to do Clayton Matthews in Green Bay. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you there, right? But you know what? I'm going to defend Julio because Julio had, and we get the Falcons games. Julio was a beast, and he has had some beastie games. All right, just straight out, like against the Cowboys, for example, beastie game here at Mercedes-Benz. John Mark says 2018 is a sleeper season for the Oakland Athletics. Joseph Bensman says big time agree, Ash. Thielen had a great year. We'll be aiming for him next year in fantasy football. Kevin KD says the Rams are for real after they flat out disgraced the Seahawks. Boy, they just made the Seahawks look like a high school football team. Sorry on your quotes, it's true. Look bad. Just bad, okay? Just awful. Rob Ivan says, I like the trades they've made thus far and could make a wild card run if the cards fall in the right place. Mile High Raider says, does anyone know why we didn't have Aldon Smith back this season, and are we going to move away from him? I can't get I'm not going to be able to get, I haven't got a clear answer from that, and I'm probably not going to get one until the NFL annual meeting. Kevin KD says, it was embarrassing to watch the D-line get schooled by the Cowboys O-line. I completely agree. And he says, I forgot about Alden. And he asks, does Marshawn even have 750 yards for the season? He is at 695. Xavier Magnus says Marshawn Lynch doesn't have a lot of yards because he's always getting into fights and being ejected. No, that's not the reason. It's because the Raiders aren't getting him the ball in a consistent fashion and in a way that's logical. Ash says, we change running styles every couple of years, mostly zone reads. Aaron Blaylock says, what do the Raiders need to bounce back? In one word, defense. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships. We need a different, and more to the point, we need a vastly different defensive philosophy is what we need. And Big April says, bad play calling from Lynch. Should have been calling powers and traps for beast mode. Hey, off tackle. Hey, pitch sweeps. Hey, Ash says the Raiders had subpar personnel. Honest, major defensive overhaul needed. I think the defensive personnel is fine. It's just what they're asked to do does not put them in the optimum position to make plays. Okay. We've got Joseph says definitely having a guy Marshawn's caliber and him not getting 1,000 yards is a failure. I could not agree more. The Raiders' offense has to be better than that, in my opinion, and I think you're absolutely 1,000% right. Rob Iman says McKenzie's task will be to retool. He also says Raiders should consider signing Doug Martin in the offseason. I'm not sold on Doug Martin. In fact, I was hoping the Bucks, because I like Jameis Winston, and I respect Dirk Carter, although I'm disappointed in his coaching this year and the year before that, frankly. But I thought, given that he's from Florida State, that Dalvin Cook was going to be a Buck. I really felt the Bucks were going to make a run for him. And I think the Buccaneers would pick up at least 4 or 5 games in the win column if they had Dalvin Cook. I really believe that. Because, Muscle Hamster, he's kind of lost his steam, and he's capable of some really brilliant runs, but then he's not as fast as Cook is to take advantage of that crease that appears just for a little bit, because the Buccaneers' offensive scheme is not designed properly enough to produce better runs. It's not only that. When I say scheme, for example, their offensive line splits are too narrow. They need to widen them out to give their running backs more natural room to run through. Okay, stuff like that. I can go on about the Bucs' problems, but Doug Martin isn't well served in that offense, but I think Dalvin Cook in that offense, without redesign, could do better. much better, but they didn't get him. So they didn't get him. And see you, Lemon. Okay. And so we have Kevin KD says, I've never seen Pete Carroll in a bad mood before a game. After that game, he was generally upset. Yeah, he got his butt kicked. Ed Reed says, OC don't know what he's doing. Ash says, Doug Martin got nicked for the substance policy this year. But even last year when he didn't, he still wasn't, he was okay. He wasn't quite there. I was ready for Dalvin Cook. And Joseph Ben says, heaven knows my Giants should have drafted Dalvin Cook, not an offensive lineman. Rob Iman says, maybe Martin and Lynch splitting reps could be a win-win. And Joseph Ben says, offensive. Kevin KD says, when I watch the Bucs play, I figure, what was the point of firing Lovie Smith? Carter has not impressed me at all. No, you know what? I believe Carter, who was selected by Lovie Smith to be his offensive coordinator, basically worked himself in that position in a way that, you know, you hate to say it that way, but it just looks like, it looks bad. I mean, dude, you're the offensive coordinator for your head coach. Why are you going to like go behind his back and then keep you and then keep on the team as the head coach? What, doesn't it look like maybe you were undermining the guy? Okay? I mean, it looks like that. I'm not saying that's what he did. I don't have any proof of that. And then how do you broach that with someone? How do you say, hey, man, were you undermining Lovie Smith? You know. And I wasn't sold on one of Dirk Carter's staples in his offense where his receivers tended to roll into their patterns, thus tipping off the sideline throws to the cornerbacks, thus causing cornerbacks, great quarterbacks like Josh Norman, to come in, sweep, pick off, and run up 6, which is what he did. And I asked him about it later. He said they were predictable, talking about the Bucs, talking about how they all run their patterns. That was 2 years ago. That falls when Dirk Carter is the offensive coordinator. So they still have that problem today with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. And so we've got Kevin KD says Dalvin Cook is incredible. The Bucs would be so much better with D Cook instead of D Martin. Thank you. And Kevin KD says on top of that, they missed another late field goal. Yes. And Jameis, I don't care what anyone says, Jameis Winston is the real deal. He played his butt off. His receivers did not serve him well. Brought Cameron Braid on 2 occasions, let him down, drops, which would have produced, you know, chain-moving results. Sad. Kevin KD says Tampa. Rob Iman says Tampa is not going to be a good vacancy. Glazers can't keep cycling through coaches. You're right about that. Mile High Raider writes, we should give George Atkinson III a chance to be in the mix for next year. Yeah. And Kevin KD says, yeah, the whole Lovie Smith firing was done very unprofessionally. And then Kevin KD follows up by writing, did not like it at all. Neither did I. And Stephen A. Smith's talked about Lovie's dismissal succinctly on First Take, and as I did here. Rob Iman says, Glazers are almost as bad as the Haslams in the NFL ownership circles. Joseph Business says Winston definitely had a good game last night. Oh yeah, he was effective. Ash says, I love Winston, much respect. He makes plays. He's a playmaker. Kevin KD says, I like Jameis, but I don't want to see the Glazers waste his immense potential. Yeah, I do fear that could happen, but I think the best solution for them is a new coach. I really do. I mean, I don't know if Big April's still around, but maybe this is the time this is the time we should talk about, coaches on the hot seat. Rob Iman says Tampa should consider trading Winston depending on the next coaching hire. Are you crazy? Are you freaking crazy? And have him deliver a Super Bowl to somebody else? No way. Kevin KD says, how about Pep Hamilton for Bucs head coach? I like that idea. I really do. Big Apple says, I'm still here. Let's talk about the hot seat. You got it, man. Ash says, imagine Gruden back in Tampa Bay. I think John Gruden or Pep Hamilton would be the best thing for Jameis Winston. I really do, okay? I really do. In fact, let me see something here. Having said that, Rob Iman, you kidding me? You trade Jameis Winston? Yeah, Gruden want GM power. Give it to him. Fine. Now let me see something here. Dirk Koetter. What I'm doing is I'm typing Dirk Koetter hot seat in Google and seeing what comes up. Dirk Koetter hot seat. And let's see here. Dirk Koetter was on the hot seat last year, according to the Big Lead. Yeah. So, NFL hot seat November 15, 2000. No, I'm sorry. Not this. This is 2017. Dirk Koetter's on the hot seat this year. 2017 is this year, not next. Anyway, it's been a long day, folks. It's been a long day. So we have the Big League has Dirk Koetter on the hot seat as of November 7th. And then the Washington Post has Dirk Koetter on the hot seat as well. Oregon Live has Dirk Koetter on the hot seat. So basically, Dirk Koetter is on the hot seat. They also list the now fired Ben McAdoo, the retained Hugh Jackson, and the now fired McAdoo. Who's gone? Hugh Jackson, who's going to be retained. And they say it's not a coaching issue, it's a roster issue. Chuck Pagano, as we talked about the other night. Dirk Koetter, as we started talking about for this. And that's it. And so, not many on the hot seat, but here is with Dirk Koetter, the case for, and they say it's been a disappointing season. This is the Washington Post. The expected development of quarterback Jameis Winston, NFL star. This person writes that Jameis Winston is stalled. Hold on a second, all right? Because I consider that nutso. Let me explain why. All right? First of all, I mean, completely nutso. You know, here's why. No, Rob, it is completely nutso. Here's why, all right? And it's nutso for this reason. Okay. Over his career, if you take a look at Jameis Winston, I want you to see this, all right? I want you to see this. Okay, take a look. This is Jameis Winston over his career. Right here, all right? I want you to pay attention to this. Right here. And it is the passer rating, which is right before us. There. Okay? He started off 87.3, then 84.2 he regressed, then 86.1, and then 93.6 this year. Okay? That's improvement. So overall, he improved. And he's had, that's his passer rating, okay? He had 80, look at this, look how many times he was sacked his rookie year. Then 27, then 35, then 25, okay? He had 8 interceptions this year, 8 interceptions versus 18 the year before, 17 touchdowns. He's had so far 2,774 yards, whereas he had 4,090 yards the year before. Okay, he had 364 attempts versus 567. All right, indicating that the Bucs are trying to go more toward a run-oriented offense because of the 18 interceptions of a year before. But I contend that those interceptions came because of the poor design of Koetter's offense. Remember us talking about how receivers roll into the pound instead of doing fake this way, they go roll into it. Like I said, Josh Norman says, yeah, they're predictable. Okay, like that, roll into it. Lazy. Hey, man, I'll just pick you off and I'll run it back for a touchdown. All right. So when someone writes the expected development of quarterback Jameis Winston to NFL star stalled. It's ridiculous. He got better. It says, and Buccaneers, seemingly on the cusp of being a playoff team, has taken several steps backward, but Winston already has 2 head coaches in his NFL career, Le'Veon Smith and Carter. The whole idea of promoting Carter after ousting Smith was to maintain stability and continuity around Winston. Entering this season, Winston and the team certainly seemed headed in the right direction. Don't overreact to one bad season and don't turn Winston's NFL career into chaos. The case against, and this is all Winston isn't getting better. He is getting better. And no, this is, you know how idiotic this is? This is all based, and this is what racism will do. They just see black quarterback, and no one talks about how bad the Bucs defense is. Okay? No one talks about how bad the Bucs defense is. It's awful. But this is what racism does. It's like, oh, Jameis, he's this black guy with this big personality, so I got to focus on him. And so they end up overreacting to everything that he does. It's almost like Donald Trump in the fake news he puts out. See this ball over here? Look at it. Do you see that? And meanwhile, he's off doing something else over there. I'm just saying. All right. So there's your stupid evaluation of Dirk Carter. All right. Rob Iman says, I think Carter would be a good fit for Will Winston. Ash says, Kevin KD talk about a Christmas dream. Richie doesn't pay for running backs. Big April says, not too many black punters. There aren't. And Kevin KD says, all I want for Christmas is Le'Veon Bell and Matavius Bryant in the silver and black. For 2008, ooh, is that doable? Is that possible? Big Apple says, yes, Kev. I know he's the best punter in the game. That's the biggest joke of the Pro Bowl. And Ash says that Tampa is 2 years off, all right? And, hey, Finish, your name, is that Firas? I'm sorry, your name is Faraz Tahar. Let me see if I can zero in on your name here. What is that? Faraz Tahar. What's the topic? I just signed in. We're talking Pro Bowl. And we're talking Jameis Winston for a little bit, and basically, if Dirk Carter should be, let go or not. So anyway, now Kevin KD says Le'Veon Bell is not a running back; he's a weapon. He says he's the Kyrie Irving of the NFL, and if you want Kyrie, you got to pay. Rob Iman says Colts are going to have to consider drafting a quarterback in the second or third round, depending on Luck's situation. The wild card in all of this is Kirk Cousins, and I could easily see Kirk Cousins flying over to Indianapolis. I could see that because look, the Niners have their quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. They have their backups, right? The Bears have Mitch Trubisky, although they spent too much money for him. Matt Stafford settled in. Jameis Winston's going to be in Tampa for quite some time. You could make a case that Kirk Cousins may wind up in Miami. He could wind up in Indianapolis. Or he could wind up... Let's see here. Oh, he could wind up in San Diego. LA. I can't bring myself to say LA Chargers. That's so... San Diego Chargers, all right? Because Phil Rivers, Pro Bowler, yeah. But after this point, if you bring him in, well, you have Clemens there. I know it sounds weird. They're kind of like the octogenarians of quarterbacks of the NFL, not including Tom Brady. So let's take San Diego out of the picture for Kirk Cousins. Where would Kirk Cousins go in your view? I'm thinking about a number of places. Mile High Raider says Kirk Cousins would go to there. That's a great idea. And Philosophy King says, what would you do if you were Andrew Luck? At this point, I think if I were Andrew Luck, knowing his smarts, his money, his investments, his interest in startups in Silicon Valley, I would, if I wasn't sure I wanted to come back, because it sounds like it's taking a while. And I'm wondering if it's really in his heart to come back with CT and everything. I just retire. I would retire if I were Andrew Luck. Just given where the league is going, I think Luck is good for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years, and that's it. But I think he's got a great future as a venture capitalist and a politician. Yeah. So, Kevin Katie says San Diego and Luck would be very intriguing. And he would have Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon. Rob Iman says, I think Tannehill will be back. He says Denver has no cap space for Cousins. Yeah, check on that one. Yeah, because Denver has Brock Osweiler, right? So we've got, well, Cleveland's closed out of that race. They've got Deshaun Kaiser. Kirk Cousins could be, could make an interesting case to spell Joe Flacco in Baltimore, but you'd have to start. You'd have to start Kurt in that situation. Perhaps the New York Giants or the New York Jets. The New York Jets. So Kurt's got some options, it would seem. And Rob Iman says if Luck retires, Colts should shop T.Y. Hilton and rebuild. Big Apple says Cousins going to the Chargers, Rivers going to the Jags for 2 years to chase that Super Bowl. Kevin Keedy says, wow, retirement. Yeah, I would retire. If I were Luck, I'd retire. And I would retire because, hey, Richard Hike, how you doing? I would retire because of the whole injury thing with the helmets. And I'm not saying in general. I'm saying if I'm Luck and I'm out this long, it's been a while, okay? And I'm concerned about CTE. I'm watching my future, my investments. It seems like an option to consider if... The only reason I say it is I'm wondering to what extent this really is in him to really just come in and say, okay, I'm ready to play. And I'm wondering if a part of him says, it was great when Pep Hamilton was the offensive coordinator. He was my guy at Stanford. And now I don't see my Colts performing well. How much better will it be if I come back? He's got to have those questions swirling around his head. Philosophy King says, if Andrew Luck retires before 30, it would be a tragedy. It would be a tragedy for the game of football. It would be a signal that the game of football needs to really wake up and smell the coffee regarding safety. Ash says, Chicago, too, their QB isn't quite ready for prime time and needs 1 or 2 years to develop. What about Arizona? You know what? Arizona, I didn't consider, and Arizona may very well be the best place for Kirk Cousins to land. Thank you. Richard Hike says, you're not getting live stream notifications? Hey, you need to click on, are you clicking on the bell there? You have to make sure it's clicked. There's a bell next to my, where you subscribe, and you have to make sure you really click on that. And so, Ash says, Zinni, he's been out of football a while. He's older, not in football shape, and he's been out a long time with his neck injury. And that's why, talking about Andrew Luck I think he should retire. Okay? I really do. I mean, it's hard to go through all that and then get up the muster to come back. He doesn't have that thing in him like Peyton Manning to prove something. He's more of a mellow kind of engineer dude, all right? And Richard Ike says, I was getting them until a few days ago. I wasn't sure if it was my fault or not. Do me a favor. And I want you, this will really help me out, Richard, and anyone else who's having that problem. I want you to go to YouTube forum. no. Better yet, send me an email. Okay? Anyone hearing, send me an email. I'll take that email and I'll send it to you to YouTube to address the problem, because if it's not the words of others, my fans, it's different. But the reason why I ask you to send it to me, to my email, is because I have direct access that others don't have as a YouTube partner. All right, so do it that way. Kevin KD says Peyton Manning is obsessed with football. It was his life. Kevin KD says, I'm telling you guys, Jake Locker. Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right, it's 1:56. I'm going to start winding it down, folks. Give it about another 5 minutes. Rob Iman says, NFL Competition Committee has to implement replay for targeting calls and NHL-style disciplinary hearings for suspensions next year. I think that's a great idea. I think that's a fantastic idea. I really do. So who do we have for... Wait, today's just Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, it's just Tuesday. It is a long... what a long week. By the way, Nestle Splash. This is an unpaid endorsement for Nestle Splash. Lemon water. That's what this is. Big 8 folk, good night. I'm not far behind you. And thank you for stopping by, and thank you for all you do. Very much, okay? Thank you. Rob Ivan says, cover your plants tomorrow and bring your pets inside. Why? What's going on? Cover plants and bring pets inside. Why? What's happening? I mean, I'm in suburban Georgia here. Ash, same to you. Cold snap in California. But I'm here in Georgia. So, Ash, much respect to you, by the way. Much respect to all of you. Thank you. Thank you all. This is refreshing. Okay, folks, this is a big week. This is Christmas week, pre-Christmas week. Well, it's not Christmas week, is it? It's Christmas week Eve, right? Or is it Christmas Eve week? No, Christmas week Eve. That's what this is, yeah. It's when you can hear, I was going to say you can hear the sleigh being repaired and, from a distance like, about 8,000 miles. All right. See you all. Good night, everybody. Catch you tomorrow. Thank you. Wax on, wax off. Too bad I have Crawford around. Let me know. Wax on, wax off. See you all. See you, John Marks. See you guys. Peace out. Good night, Joseph. Didn't go CSU Rams tonight. Good night. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night, folks. See ya. Thank you all so much. Good night. You got it. Hey, I'm not in California, but good night. You all in California, stay warm. Heed Rob Iman's warning. See ya. Warning, excuse me. Good night.